This is Joe Navarro, former FBI agent, spy catcher, expert on non-verbal communication, and the author of 13 books, including the international bestseller What Everybody Is Saying. Today, this expert on all things body language is going to be taking a look at a case from Rockstar's detective classic, LA Noire.
I'm looking at him straddling this naked body, and that would in no way ever take place nowadays.
If you want to see more of Joe or his takes on investigatory video games, then be sure to support him by following him on Twitter and picking up one of his fascinating books. Link to those in the description below. Now, it's over to Joe.
Here she is.
As I look at the investigators and I see obviously how things have changed over the years. You notice how everybody's in close proximity and they're walking right up to the body. There's no way nowadays that all of a sudden you would have all these investigators just stepping all over the evidence. Any defense attorney nowadays would immediately contest any evidence collected from the crime scene. Did you miss any evidence? Well, how would you know? You were standing all over it.
Talk me through it, Mal.
Severely battered, on display. Footprints would indicate that she has been stomped. Size of the footprints would seem to indicate a smallish men's shoe.
You mind if I examine the body?
Be my guest.
This is interesting. I'm looking at him straddling this naked body, and that just would in no way ever take place nowadays. Usually, and I've worked many homicides as an FBI agent, and having worked these, the first thing you learn is that you cordon off at least 30, 40 feet, and you work your way inward. I remember taking pieces of 2x4, and oftentimes I would lay these down. So I would have a walkway to the victim in case there was any evidence underneath that I might miss at a distance. As I'm watching, you notice that he's touching her face. I mean, you just definitely don't touch a body. Defense attorney would attack that immediately. If you're going to get this close to the body, the first thing you want to do also is you want to put paper bags around the hands, and then you seal it with tape. And what that does is it preserves any evidence that may be in the hands. It preserves any evidence that is in the fingernails. This is one of those points where you could literally spend a day in class just analyzing, what can be done, what should be done, and what should not be done. Certainly straddling the victim shouldn't be done.
Well, we have a name.
You notice he's handling the purse without gloves. You certainly wouldn't handle it with your own hands, because there's a good likelihood that a suspect may likewise have touched the purse, and there may be some evidence there.
Phelps and Galloway, LAPD. Is your father home?
He'll be home soon. He's been out looking for Mommy.
What's your name, miss?
One of the things that you learn about interviewing is that with children in particular, you really shouldn't stand that close to them. The minute you begin to violate their space, they feel insecure. So if we were doing this today, we would knock on the door and actually take a step back, allow the child to open the door, but not move any closer to them. The other thing that we see with both investigators You notice that they both furrow their, it's called the glabella. One of the problems with the display on the part of the officers is that from the time that a child is about 11 months old, they already know that the furrowed glabella represents that something's not right or that there's an issue. And that affects the interview. So one of the things that you want to do is not look like these two guys.
Work boots, size 8s.
They have a shoe with a similar pattern that we've seen before at the crime scene. Conveniently, the number 8 is there, and those are great. That's what you're looking for. But you also have to remember that the house of a potential suspect is also a potential crime scene. And so, walking about and picking up things, that's something you also don't do. Obviously, you want to protect it, but you also want to photograph where exactly you found that shoe. In this case, you know that it's on the floor, but it's under a window. You could have a defense attorney say, well, is it possible that my client is being framed and somebody dropped them there? So you have to remember that eventually all this goes before a trier of the facts.
When did you last see your mother?
Yesterday afternoon. I went to a dance at Belmont High. Mommy was supposed to pick me up, but she didn't show.
So what did you do then?
I was upset. Daddy came instead.
It's not about whether you believe what she's saying is truthful, it's doubtful, it's a lie. Those are actually the wrong questions. You have to remember that whatever anybody says, whether they are truthful or lying, whether it's a victim or a suspect, you have to go out and corroborate that information. Because if you don't, defense is going to bring it up. You as a police officer may say, oh yeah, this young lady is being truthful, and you buy everything she says. But if you don't go out and test it and validate it, defense attorney is going to go out and he's going to, or she going to talk to witnesses and other people that might discredit her. And this is something that people fail to understand because they watch television and they've sort of been indoctrinated into how it's done. So we have to corroborate everything that, in this case, she says, and everything that a potential suspect says.
Hey, what gives?
Daddy, the police
Go to your
are
room,
here.
please, Michelle. I'll talk to the police.
Daddy, Mommy is gone.
Go to your room, young lady. She's not even out of school. You can't come in here interrogating her like she's
Your
some
wife
kind
was
of...
found murdered this morning.
Found? What? But she only...
One of the things as investigators that we look for is what is the initial response of someone when you tell them someone has been found dead. Did they display shock? The freeze response? Did they cover their mouth? And certainly anything they say, this falls under the rule that the surprises cause us to utter things that are very honest because we don't have time to process it. So I would go back and listen to every single little word that he says.
What size shoe do you wear, Mr. Mueller?
Why do you ask?
It's routine, sir. Simple process of elimination.
9s, I think.
I'm getting old, but I pretty much know what shoe size I wear. And he's given himself a little bit of leeway. A defense attorney would say, no, he gave a perfect answer. He said 9, I think. Could it have been 8? He was never asked.
Why are you lying to me, Mr. Mueller?
There's no need to say, why are you lying? You've got the facts. You've got the size 8 shoe. You're going to collect it as evidence, hopefully. It was in plain sight. You were welcomed into the house, so you can seize it. The minute you say, why are you lying to me, you put people on the defensive.
You phoned in a missing persons report this morning?
Yeah, that's right. My wife didn't come home last night. She left around 9:30. Michelle was out at dance. She called me to let me know that Deidre didn't turn up.
The creators have given us an opportunity to examine body language. You see the narrowing of the eyebrows, squinting of the eyes. You see the more compression of the lips. The little corners of the mouth are called the commissures, and you see the commissures are slightly pinched. So he's bothered by something. But what we can't say is what he's bothered by, because he may be bothered by the questions that are being asked. He may be bothered by the attitude of one or both of the officers.
I know about the golden butterfly, Hugo, and how you bought your wife off the last time you heard her.
She liked to spend money, all right? Dresses, jewelry, her hair. It drove me goddamn crazy. Do I look like a Rockefeller?
Nobody likes a cheapskate, Hugo.
Getting hostile with us is a very bad idea, Hugo.
I'm no murderer.
The detective says, don't get hostile with us. He should go to some of the neighbors I used to go into. You see some things here that that speak to the frailty of the interview process. When you're talking about a homicide interview, minimum, you're probably talking 3 to 4 hours. This is not the time to make accusations. This is still the fact collecting phase.
You got to be kidding me, Phelps. Put the cuffs on him.
This is an outrage. I didn't kill my wife.
Your daughter is in the next room, Mueller, so I'm giving you a break. Don't make me change my mind, and don't make me come looking for you.
Wait a minute. Your best piece of evidence is that shoe, and you just walked away from the best piece of evidence, and you didn't seize it.
Why did you burn your shoes, Hugo?
Because I knew you'd never believe me.
Believe what?
It's rabbit's blood. The guy at work brought them in and I helped him skin them.
We don't have the report from the lab, which would show that that is blood from a rabbit. You have to attack it from the perspective of how would a defense attorney attack this? What's missing here? What could be argued? Are there weaknesses in the case? Yes, there's a lot more evidence that needs to be collected. Every neighbor needs to be talked to. Blood needs to be tested. There's a lot of strengths and there's a lot of weaknesses in the case. But could you go to a court and say, we have probable cause to arrest? I would say, obviously, yes. You know, I think L.A. Noire does a pretty good job of representing the true genre of that time period. It certainly could be used for training, because you can use it to look for, you know, are we looking at crimping of the lips? Are we looking at jaw displacement? I'd like to see more of the interview process, of the back and forth that can go on, and especially the body language of both the suspect and the investigator, because what the investigator does non-verbally affects the suspect. But really very interesting and very well done, representing that time period.